All right, everyone, welcome into Flex Friday for Prize Picks. And today actually feels like a Friday, like a weekend slate. We are getting a couple of good props. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I start with saying that because the good props that really I wanted for the day were not made available until right before game time, whether that be like Wiggins, Dante DiVincenzo yesterday, Luke Kennard. That's kind of been what it has been. Even the Bucks just not having the clarity on if Giannis is going to play, and then also like Bobby Portis with that as well. We don't have to worry about that injury situation stuff today, where that projected value would be. The board is updated with how that look or how the outlook is for the day already. So that is nice. What I want to do is I want to start out with just the good props that are available via the cheat sheet. And I'm going to get into kind of my process for the day. And this is going to be for both PrizePicks and Underdog. Oh, an update here for anyone that's a site member or not. I did update kind of the homepage here. Just flows a little bit better, I think. Kind of excited for that. That was what I was working on last afternoon. Just kind of fun. But I broke it down: golf, DFS, and then props. Just go to the props cheat sheet. All right, so let's just go ahead and get into the best PrizePicks lines for the day, and now get into Underdog, and now get into my process for the day. So just looking at it right now, PrizePicks wise, for some over bets that we are getting, we can see we get a few that are going to be around 53% or more likely to hit. Three of those are going to be NHL props, which I'm fine with. If you want to make those bets, go ahead and do that. We can see probably the best one would be Brad over 2.5 shots on goal, 53% chance, projected to get 3. So, you like to see that. And then also pitcher strikeouts. This one's a little bit tighter, but you could roll with that one if you want to. Let's flip it. Any under bets? I mean, not really. Julius Randle under 8.5 rebounds, but he's projected to get 9.3. So probably not touching that one. So I'm not a big fan of these kind of baseball total bases props, but at the same time, typically speaking, those are going to be the ones that give us the big edge, because that's where we're going to see the biggest difference. And that's just because it's a highly variable type of prop. And that's also going to be the same kind of with blocked shots in NHL. But typically speaking, those are going to be the ones where we are getting the best odds on the day. If you want to roll with that, you can. I don't like doing those too much. And then unders wise, nothing too crazy. Okay, so let's go and look at Underdog real quick. Well, here, we'll do this. PrizePicks prop line difference compared to Underdog, and let's do minus. Let's see where Underdog is overvaluing compared to PrizePicks. And so here we go. Jaylen Brown. So if you think Jaylen Brown's going to be good today, and he could be, the game is kind of a higher scoring game in terms of the playoffs, highest scoring game tonight. Like to see that. And we also did see fantasy score popping up in there as well. So that would be a good prop if you think Jaylen Brown's going to be a good play. And I do. I think he's going to have a good game today. And do I think Jaylen Brown is like a lock? No. But, data wise, using the Vegas lines and whatnot, this is probably the best prop that we are getting on the board. Let's go ahead and look at it again. So 25.5 points here. If you look at the average sportsbook odds, okay, 4 points. They're pulling in at 26.25. They're basically valuing it as a push. Underdog is also valuing it at 26.5. So we are getting a full point difference there. I think I kind of like the fantasy point prop projection a little bit better. Projected to get over it. If you look at the average sportsbook line based off of the odds that are out there for his projections, Vegas sportsbook wise, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, they are saying that he's probably going to get over. And so, it could be a situation like last night where you could bet the under on Underdog or just bet the over on PrizePicks. I would say the over on PrizePicks would be the way to go there. Now let's switch it up and get into Underdog. So typically speaking, Underdog is going to have just better lines throughout the day. What sucks, and I got this lesson yesterday, Gordon was like minus 150 to get a single. He ends up hitting a double. Okay, so I mentioned how I don't like total bases. Well, I kind of wish Underdog would do total bases instead of singles, because day in and day out, those are the best props that we are getting. But at the same time, the reason why the under odds are never positive is because it is a highly volatile type of prop. I just don't like touching those. And so really we can see the best one that we're getting is actually Quentin Grimes over 1.5 threes. And I'm actually curious as to that one. Let's see. Has he gotten the over the last couple of games? No. That one's interesting to me. He shouldn't get an increase in minute. I don't know if I agree with that. That could actually be a situation in which on one of the sports books, you are betting the under there because obviously they're favoring it right now. And let's just double check this. I don't think anyone's out. Like Josh Hart is expected to play. And if you guys remember from the last video, I kind of really like Quentin Grimes, and I ended up betting like over free throws and ended up being very lucky to hit. It was over 0.5 free throws, but that was predicated on that was the only prop that we had available for him. And it was also because Josh Hart was questionable. Josh Hart's going to play. So I think the minutes that we've seen for him are going to kind of continue to be there for him. So I don't know if I want to do that prop because I think his minutes are going to consistently be that low like they have been because they've been defaulting to giving RJ Barrett, Josh Hart minutes instead of him. And so that that's tough. I think I'd rather just bet the under on one of the sports books that are giving that number. But yeah, guys, we can see, like, if I just sort by over odds percent, like consistently we are getting much better props on underdog percentage wise. Like we had what, like 4 on prize picks that were 53% or like more likelihood to hit. Here it's a lot more. Okay, so that's kind of why I've been doing more underdog content, because that's where the slates are, kind of where prize picks and underdog, they've kind of been dictating that. And that's kind of it. Let's just go ahead and sort by this again to see if we're getting any big edges on underdog. And we kind of are. Like RJ Barrett, I don't really trust his game, but I mean 1.5 or 1.65 fantasy point prop difference, that is huge. That is very big. And one of the props that I took advantage of last night was actually Russell Westbrook. He had like a 2.5 prop line difference in his fantasy score between underdog and prize picks. You just don't see that very often. And that was a situation in which, looking at the per 36 numbers, I liked it. And so I just went with him on prize picks. And that's why I like to compare him, because you can see like where the biggest edge is. And so here, like Julius Randle on underdog, if you wanted to roll with the over fantasy points there, I'd be fine with that. I know he hasn't exactly been dominating lately, but home court game, you kind of expect them to keep it a little bit closer. Vegas is kind of thinking that as well. They're projecting to be a close game. So thus, Julius Randle and maybe some of the other Knicks players you would want to be on a little bit more today. And the nice thing about that is, you could maybe do a little bit of a small game stack there with these three. Underdog is kind of undervaluing that game a little bit. You could do a little bit of a game stack there in that game. Then the last one is Tatum as well on underdog. 1 point difference in prop for fantasy score. That's pretty big there. Okay, so that's stuff we can just take advantage of. That's kind of true. Like prize picks compared to underdog, there's a big difference in a lot of the props, especially for fantasy score. That's pretty crazy. And so that just helps you to make the best educated decision possible. And just a reminder, if you guys are looking to make any bets on underdog and you haven't signed up just yet, click the link in the description below this video. That'll take you to underdog, and then you can just use the promo code 925 like it's spelled out in the bottom column header right there, 905sports.com. It's just 905sport. But one more I want to point out as well here is going to be Darius Garland, rebounds and assists. We can see he's projected to get 10.5. The average sportsbook line is favoring 9.75 on average. Prize Picks has already bumped it up to 10. Underdog has it set at 9.5. So that's probably my favorite prop bet there on underdog. And we can see it has about a 54% chance to hit. That's a pretty good prop that we were getting there. I am perfectly fine taking that prop on underdog. Now let's go ahead and get into my favorite props for the day today. All right, so there is one more that I think will get bumped throughout the day. Donovan Mitchell, 5.5 assists. I think that's going to get bumped up to 6 throughout the day. So I think there's a slight edge as it sits right now. And we can see the last 3 games against New York, he's been either getting over or very close to getting over. So not a bad one there as well. Now let's get into my favorite bet. So looking at, I do like Malcolm Brogdon still. I was hoping we would begin a fantasy score prop for him. When I was recording this, we do not have that, but at the same time, I still think that this is a good prop that we are getting for him. 20.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That seems too low in this matchup against Atlanta that, for playoff purposes, is expected to be a higher scoring game. Now, the only worries that I have with this prop is that they're pretty much valuing it as a push, okay? And if we actually look at the projection here, slightly projected to get lower than that. That's my biggest worry with that prop, although I see him being able to get over. And now, yes, it's not as much of a good prop as the last game, where it just looked like he was coming in after a just bad game, poor night shooting, and you kind of just expected him to have a much better game. Still, this game is expected to be a closer game than it has been in the past, the past 2 games. So hopefully it gets to around 30 minutes. And if that occurs, then it should be solid. Now, I know he typically gets around, 27 to 30 minutes, so we can't really bank on him getting 30 minutes. But at the same time, he is an extremely efficient basketball player. He does make the correct basketball plays night in and night out. And yes, if we go back further than the playoffs, we can see 18, 4, and 5. Love that, right? And so in 2 out of 3 games thus far this season, he has been able to get the over there. And what's crazy is like last game, he still didn't even shoot the basketball that well. 4 for 11 wasn't great, but it was better. So Brogdon to me is one of the better props. Should be able to have a good game. Now, I still don't really get this prop line for Jalen Brunson. If we look at it from a point per minute basis in terms of prize picks points, he's been able to crush this over a bunch the last 3 games against them. Now, I know you guys are seeing this right here against Cleveland. The first game, he did not get his full allotment of minutes. The comments section actually really clutched up with this in the last video. They explained that it wasn't his hand injury that limited his minutes. It was actually the fact that he got into foul trouble in the first half. And so I loved hearing that because I'm like, okay, well, if he's not hindered by his hand injury at all, and foul trouble can be a little bit fluky in terms of trying to predict someone's output for the night. I'm like, all right, I feel good about this prop now because he only got 30 minutes in that game because he got into foul trouble in the first half. I don't think we can really predict that. And so obviously he got 36 minutes, had a very good game. And so that is stuff that I like to see. And I think because of that game, they're still not valuing him as properly as they should be. More times than not. And he hasn't even had a good 3-ball shooting night, guys. 1 for 8, 1 for 4. He has been kind of poor shooting the basketball lately. And he's still been able to get the over fantasy score. Now that's a little bit due to not turning the ball over and also getting a lot of steals. And maybe this is a situation. Let's see. Are we getting any shooting props from him? No, not really. I would say these are all pretty much correct. So I was wondering if we're getting field goal attempts or 3-pointers made, maybe, but no, we're not getting that just yet. So yeah, I'd probably just go over fantasy score here. And then lastly, this one still does feel like we're, ooh, geez, they bumped it. Interesting there. Wait, no, sorry. I was thinking of a different prop here. Jamal Murray, 40 fantasy points. It is bumped from the previous 2 games, but he has just been playing some good basketball in the playoffs. And I just don't think that Minnesota has a good answer for him right now. And the thing with it is, it's Denver has been blowing out Minnesota. And if we look at it, it's expected to be a close scoring game tonight. We'll see if that holds up. Minnesota's just been pitiful. Okay. Home court though, for them, maybe, that helps them flip the switch, but he's just been solid. So if this game is going to be a closer scoring game and he does get a little bit extra run, I know he had 39 minutes in the last game, but only 33 in the first game and still easily got over there. And if you look at this game against Utah, 28 minutes, pretty good production. I expect him to be able to get the over. Now, I don't like this one as much as I did Brogdon and also Brunson, but it is still a good prop. And this is just going to be based off of the average sportsbook line for his props for the day. So he's projected to get 35. That's kind of what the average sportsbook line has his line set at. And so, a slight edge there. If you want to take that, you could as well. Typically speaking, I don't love doing Mobley and Allen. Typically, it doesn't correlate too well. So it'd be a situation where, if you want to include Mobley in a prop bet, then you could also do another one with Jared Allen for over fantasy score. And maybe they both hit. But I would say you are increasing your likelihood of having one of those hit. And I don't mind DeJounte Murray over fantasy points as well. He's been crushing lately. But my 2 favorite on the day are going to be these 2. Once again, I do want to get fantasy score. I would say maybe 23.5 for Malcolm Brogdon I'd be comfortable with. If it gets to 24.5, then we have to think about if it's 25.5. Probably staying away from that one. But I don't think it will be. And then if you want to add in another one, I don't mind Jamal Murray over fantasy score as well. But that's all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let's have a good slate. It's a weekend slate. I'm excited for it. It just seems like the lines are better. There's more clarity on the weekend slates for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I'm not spending my time looking for good props. They just kind of appear. Whereas, Monday, Tuesday with the lines being tighter than they are, a lot of my morning is spent trying to find the best prop bets out there, because the lines are so tight. But if you guys want access to the 9 to 5 cheat sheet, it is available for $10 a month. Included in that is a fantasy golf membership, which it's been crushing. Fantasy golf tools have been crushing over the past 3 months now. So I price it for value for a reason. I don't really like the idea of people having to really recoup membership costs or trying to have to recoup their membership costs for a fantasy sports website while also trying to profit on DFS and prop sites. Obviously, the higher the price is, the less likely that is. So that's why I try to keep it low. But that's all. Let's have it slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.